All
Hey,
right.
Kate, I thought a lot about you. In Cancun, have a lot of toros there. The giant toros. They were pouring eggs a lot in front of the hotel we were. I was just thinking about you. I said, oh my gosh, I wish you was here. Yeah. Wow.
Oh,
Dri, we're ready whenever you are.
okay. All right, my friends. Good morning. Happy sunny Sunday. It's a pleasure everybody is here together as a wonderful community. We are here as a family to learn to celebrate each other as we not yet are able to see each other. Pretty soon, we are going to be able to, hug each other like we've seen our sister Kiki and Regina exchanging this amazing energy of love. It's all about love. So before I start talking about our services and the education piece that we offer to all, I would like to invite, I'm going to call on her now, our sister Deborah, who just returned from Brazil, and we miss her dearly. If she would be kind to say an opening prayer for us. Would you, Sister Deborah, please?
Wow, out on the spot. Let's close our eyes and set ourselves to God, opening ourselves to God this beautiful Sunday morning. Thank you, Lord, for the blessing of being here together with our sisters and brothers in this beautiful Sunday morning. Jesus, invite and protect us with all your blessings so that we can learn with our brother Robbie and so that we can enjoy even more the healing passes and the meditation that we're gonna have today. We invite all the angels and archangels, our mentors and guides, to protect and to invite us. And so be it.
So be it indeed. Welcome back, Deborah. We've missed you. It's nice to have you here, sister.
Nice to be back.
Thank you. Thank you for your energy, for your presence today. And my friends, I know I can see here we are amongst friends, family. So I will briefly go over what we offer from the fraternal counseling and classes that are available to all of us and friends and family who are interested in learning more about the Spiritism. We are a non-denomination organization. We study the Spiritism with the base on philosophy. And I want to make sure that you all know and have access to the books of Allan Kardec, right? The Gospel according to the Spiritism, which we are studying as well. So let me go over a few reminders to make sure that you are aware of the classes that we are offering. There is a beautiful daily prayer every Monday through Friday at 6 p.m. PST and Saturdays at 11:30 a.m. So it's about 15 to 20 minutes. I know our dear sister Regina always remind us if you're ready and if you have that, some minutes to dedicate for prayer, that would be beautiful to have you join us. Another service, very important, is the fraternal counseling every Wednesday by appointment only. So if you would like to speak with some of us here that are available to talk to you, please, there are some slots that are from 4 to 7 p.m. PST, and you can talk with one of our brothers and sisters that are here to assist you. Another important study, as I have mentioned, is the Gospel, the Spirit's teaching, every Sunday at 6 p.m. PST. This is with Sunshine back. in collaboration with Divine Light Center. So if you'd like also to expand your knowledge of the gospel, you can and you should join the class. Another beautiful class is the Inner Transformation, every first and third Tuesday of the month from 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. Again, with Sunshine Back in collaboration with Divine Light Center. And therethe's also the Spiritist book study group that is every Thursday, 6:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. PST with our sister Dushka. Again, this is all if you think about all the pieces of the puzzle that we are studying in different angles, obviously learning more and applying the principles that Allan Kardec has codified, right? There is another study book. It's the Happy Life book, every Thursday at 7:30 to 8 p.m. And the Spiritism for the Youth, which started a while back in March. It's every second and fourth Sunday of the month at 8:30 to 9:30 a.m. with Brian. Actually, we had the class early this morning. So as you can see, there are a lot of options, different times. You don't have to participate in all of them. Of course, ideally, you want to maximize your time and your education opportunities. You can, but there are different days and different times that you can and should absolutely join forces, join the beautiful energy, learn, give and receive in that beautiful cycle. So we have, a number of classes for you to join us. Now, we have our guest today is Robbie Brown. He's going to be talking about our potential. And I'm very interested in learning with and from Robbie, who has become this wonderful speaker among us, our group, who has been dedicating so much of his time and energy to work on his inner transformation, as well as learn more to help us through his classes, through his lectures. And today he's going to be talking about our potential. I'm sure each of us really want to discover, to be in touch of our potential, what we can offer to the world, right? As we do our service as workers of light, how can we maximize our potential that God has already given to each of us? And all of us have this beautiful talent and gift that is unique, that makes it this beautiful variety of talents and qualities that we all have. When we come together, it's this opportunity to expand the beautiful worker, the beautiful light that we have as workers of light. And without further ado, I would like you to help me welcome Robbie, who is grateful for the ability to discover and work on himself for benefit of all. That's beautiful because it has to be good for everybody. So Robbie said here from the teachings of Jesus. So our brother Robbie, who is going to be talking about our potential. Hello, Robbie.
Yay, thank you so much.
Welcome.
I'm going to keep my camera off today because my internet is a little choppy and I don't want it to interfere. So let me get this.
Perfect. We can see beautifully your presentation. Yay. Thank you.
So once again, I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be able to present. I can't overemphasize enough how much I learn each time I do this. And I was talking to a couple people. It's really interesting to me when I start with something. I feel like by the end, I've investigated and learned so much. I probably have more questions than when I started, which is awesome because it gives me more inspiration to continue. And I'll start off with the quote there on the bottom from Heaven and Earth, chapter 33, A Learning Experience. The Spirit, Andre Louise, tells us we will receive from life according to our own deeds. And I just picked this one up yesterday when we had a study group. And I think that really fits in, because when we look at our potential as I see it, and that's important, just how I reflect on it. And hopefully at the end, I'd like to hear what you guys think about potential. But for me, it really is on our own deeds, as so many things are. And first and foremost, when I look at our potential, I kind of thought of it as like static, like we all have the same potential to reach. And we go through so much on this journey as we strive towards getting closer to that. And we always have to believe in ourselves and our purpose for the beginning. And then I look at it, it's an invitation for us to become an observer. And as everything is really, it's especially of ourselves. We really have to get in tune with knowing thyself and starting to educate on who we really are. We got to get into practice to try to focus on judging only in our, not judging, but if we are, just limit the judging to ourselves, which basically I would choose maybe more of a reflection of ourselves. But allow everything to teach. We shouldn't take anything personally, because everything is meant to teach. And we shouldn't allow people to define us. We should be open instead to trusting our intuition and embracing our purpose to hopefully reach our potential as fast as we can and in a way that will be beneficial to all. So as I referred to me, our potential doesn't change. It has been with us since the beginning and continues to embrace us going forward. Through the process of reincarnation, we continue to progress, thereby getting closer to obtaining our potential. And it's interesting to reflect just how many times we've reincarnated. We don't know, but it's a huge process. And it's an honor each time to reincarnate, because it allows us to continue progressing and to continue to learn. Through prayer, we are better able to get a glimpse of our potential by reflecting on the constant love, understanding, patience, and compassion that is shown to each one of us on a daily basis by our Creator. Education enables us to develop tools that will aid us to better align our will for that which benefits all. And that's a key component, benefits all. And I reflect on that and think naturally as we work on ourselves, as we strive to have better attributes, better virtues, being patient, being loving, it indirectly will benefit all. So the journey within is the very beginnings of our charitable efforts for others. Incarnation welcomes interaction. Through practice, we are better able to observe ourselves under different circumstances and witness how we respond through our thoughts, words, and actions. A true blessing that some might overlook. And that's important to me. It's through practice, because practice allows us the ability to see where we still need to focus our efforts. And it is a true blessing. And I know at times we put the emphasis so much on being right and correct all the time. But it's okay to make mistakes, because mistakes help guide us. They show us where we need to, focus our efforts more. And it's a great indicator. It should be thought of a blessing, rather than we tend to, I made a mistake, I didn't do that right. There's nothing wrong with that. It's changing our attitude as well to reach our potential on how we view things. The guidance given to us by our Creator through the great teachers who have incarnated it, along with our mentors and the good spirits, provide a beautiful example of charity, compassion, understanding, and above all, love. Take comfort in knowing the support system that is put in place for the benefit of all. That's something we should reflect upon. Look at how much is given to us. And I find it interesting when we look at that aspect, when we become charitable, we just kind of mirror what is already given to us on a daily basis. Intentions based upon the good encourage us to continue to strive towards our potential, a potential that is based on understanding how we should respond to events presented to us. Must be us there. And that's how it is when I look at it for myself, is that we have to look at how we respond through our thoughts and through our actions, that they're an indicator of where we stand currently and where we need to be with our potential. So without change, something sleeps inside us and seldom's awakened. The sleeper must awaken. That which sleeps inside us to me is our potential. And just reflecting back on my life, I look at, I had potential, but being asleep can be viewed in many different ways. You know, I was lost in the reality of the physical world, you know, our incarnation here. So it took a while for me to sort through all that, to see where I stand in life, to realize that my potential is more than just achieving within the physical realm, so to speak. There's a greater potential, our spiritual side, that allows us to achieve success here, but also allows us to achieve a success that will carry with us and help us, you know, get to our potential. Question 919 of the Spirit's book: what is the most effective means of improving ourselves in this life and for resisting the draw of evil? A sage of antiquity has told you to know thyself. St. Augustine invites us to perform a nightly review, to see where we have erred in order to make the necessary improvements. This invitation to a healthy practice is a wonderful starting point. And to me, I was thinking about all this, and I feel like the beginning of a nightly review is like having a seed, and what we do with it, you know, to help it develop is up to us. And without that plant, you need the seed for that plant to occur. And I really think the nightly review is a great invitation for us to know ourselves. It helps us develop and our efforts, and it puts the focus back on us where everything needs to be. Because as I reflect back on my life, I used to go outside of me, and when I thought, I was thinking that others needed to change in a way for me. But others deserve the right to be where they are on their path and who they are. But after years of struggling and finally realizing I needed to change, I had to change me. I didn't need people to change for me. I had to change for myself and for the benefit of others. And I love what Gandhi says here: keep your thoughts positive because your thoughts become your words. Keep your words positive because your words become your behavior. Keep your behavior positive because your behavior becomes your habits. Keep your habits positive because your habits become your values. Keep your values positive because your values become your destiny. And all that's done by us reflecting within and realizing that potential that is set for us. And I think the best example for me and for many is what Jesus brought to us for our potential. Jesus, through his teachings, conveyed the potential each of us have within. And in the gospel according to Spiritism, love one's neighbor as yourself, the greatest commandment. The Pharisees, having learned that he had silenced the Sadducees, gathered together, and one of them, a doctor of the law, came to him to ask this question in order to test him: Master, which is the greatest commandment of the law? Jesus answered him, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the greatest and first commandment. And this is the second, which is similar to it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. And the law and the prophets, all the law and the prophets are contained in these two commandments. And I think about that: you shall love your neighbor as yourself. This is a sentence, simple, but it really entails so much. It's all the work we do down here. That's our potential, because if we can love our neighbor as ourselves, then we understand what it is to truly love. And then these questions that kind of came up with me as I was presenting this: in order to go to our neighbor and give them love, do we love ourselves? Because before we can be understanding, compassionate, patience to others, we have to put in the efforts to apply this to ourselves first to understand them. And as we do this, we naturally will go without and give that and share that. I like that, to share that with others. But that's our potential. And once we love our neighbors as ourselves, and first and foremost, loving our God for giving us this opportunity to learn and to progress and to be charitable. It's the effort we put in, but the potential is there. And how blessed we are to have this ability to understand this, to have this shared with us from Jesus, that God loved us so much to have Jesus incarnate for our benefit to share. And a beautiful potential to obtain. A lot of work goes into that one sentence, though, because for me, after I realize what it is I should be doing, it's just continued effort to discover about myself and to really start appreciating myself. And like I said, so I can share that with everyone for the right reasons. And question 886 of the Spirit's book, what is the true meaning of the word charity as Jesus understood it? Benevolence or kindness towards everyone, indulgence or tolerance towards the imperfections of others, and forgiveness for offenses. Once again, we're so blessed to have this to strive towards, because this is our potential through understanding, through the learning, through the efforts, through the struggles, to get to a point where we can become this in gratitude for our Creator, as well as sharing and helping those all around us. Because how much effort has gone into helping us on a daily basis. And I love to think I love this book, Paul and Stephen, it's my favorite book. I believe if I had to choose one book in life to keep, I would have this. This would be my go-to. But as I see it, Paul let us see our potential to shine, but the effort we had to put forth to get it. And as I was going through trying to find little bits and pieces to bring to this, I never looked on the back of the book, which I thought was beautiful, and it summed it up for me. How did an old man's trip to the market to buy fish and vegetables lead to a chain of cause and effect events that would change the religious face of the world forever? Who was Paul of Tarsus? A fanatical Pharisee and ruthless persecutor of Christians and the newborn Christian doctrine, or a being predestined by divine choice who converted upon receiving the gift of the apparition of Jesus in a glorious vision at the gates of Damascus? This book will show the reader the greatness of Paul of Tarsus, a courageous, daring, and sincere man who repented for his radical posture that culminated in the stoning of Christianity's first martyr, Stephen, and who humbly undertook the accelerated revision of his ideas in answer to Jesus' call. Amid persecutions, infirmities, mockery, disillusionment, desertion by friends, stonings, beatings, and imprisonments, he transformed his life into an example of labor through dozens of years of struggle by founding churches and rendering them assistance. At some point in our lives, we will all receive Christ's call. What have we done? Paul and Stephen will enable the reader to understand how love erases a multitude of wrongs. And there's so many things to go with this, but I mean, dozens of years of struggles in this incarnation and the extent he went to. And understanding, I think, for me, that he was, answering the call to Jesus and that he was trying to fulfill his potential. Paul understood, to me, the sense of duty, and that allowed him to stay focused. And I think those two, for me, are such a beautiful combination. Having Jesus lay forth kind of the groundwork of what our potential is. And then we get a beautiful example. And there's so many examples in life, but I love the one of Paul of what it is to try to reach our potential. It gives us an idea of the efforts, and we're not all going to go through this, but what have we gone through our incarnations, through life? We reincarnate and we lose that ability to gain that access to the knowledge in the past. But I'm sure we have gone through a few of these on this list. But for me, it's a way of gaining inspiration to understand that it's not going to come to me. And if we have the blessing of pondering about our lives and in a way receiving the call to do, what are we willing to put in to do it? Are we ready to get serious? Are we ready to put forth the effort and to struggle and to inconvenience ourselves and to give up some of ourselves in order to obtain it. It's a question we all have to ask ourselves and to see to what extent we're willing to answer it. So with these here, I love learning about other faiths and I love learning about other concepts. And I watched a show on Buddhism and I really appreciated it. And I wanted to see if there was a way, after looking at the Four Noble Truths, because I like to see the comparison and tie it into Spiritism where we can, because it's reassuring to me to see that there's more wisdom out there. And I think for me, this, looking at this added to it, and it brought about in a way that I think really complemented it nice. And I have a lot of respect for the book Thought and Life. So my goal was to take these Four Noble Truths and understanding that the wisdom in thought and life, that I didn't realize how important our thoughts were. And our thoughts are everything. And I didn't realize that for a long time. So I thought to myself, being that that book, really discusses a topic to me that really reflects it. I mean, it starts with our thoughts, our intentions, and we build from there. So I thought to myself, there's got to be a way to compare that to this. So this is my best efforts at it. The Four Noble Truths is done as a very high level look. They're very deep, but I did find the comparisons and I thought it was interesting. I hope you guys do as well. So the first noble truth, there is suffering. And before we get going on these, a noble truth is a truth to reflect upon. It's not an absolute and it's not the absolute. And I think that's important in a lot of ways in life because we're all different. And I sometimes struggle when things say this is the way it has to be, but more of an offering to help guide us to better ourselves, if you will. So one of the points here, we reflect as we see suffering. And once again, reflect. I love that because reflect is an invitation to know thyself. It's to go back within. A reflection is how we do everything. I mean, when it's brought to us, it's when we think about it, ponder it, and allow the possibility for change to come into us. And it is phrased in a very clear way. There is suffering rather than I suffer. And I spent a lot of time for this on myself, thinking about this one. And the reflection can allow to identify the need to change there. And it's like we take off the personal and understand that there is suffering. And I think that invites us to be less selfish, and it invites us to understand things. And it invites us to realize that suffering is something, as the third here, that it's a common bond we all share. It's not, it takes like the victim mentality off to me. Because when we go in that direction that I suffer, I experience pain, I'm challenged, we're taking it too personally and it'll take us down a different path to learn. I believe that we'll all get there, but I don't think it's a path that's the most beneficial way for us to learn. So when we talk about human suffering, it brings out our compassionate tendencies. So there's a lot of good to understanding that suffering is a tool for us to learn rather than a personal event that I experience. So I was looking through Thought and Life and I was reflecting on the first noble truth. It seemed to me that it's calling for an understanding of things. And I love Thought and Life. Chapter 10, Understanding the Spirit Emmanuel, tells us we can begin by distinguishing the criminal from the crime. And that to me compares to distinguishing the difference between suffering and I suffer. For just as a farmer sees the difference between the worm and the soil, so that he can lessen the strength of the former and enhance the usefulness of the latter, and just as a farmer works to eliminate all blights to save his crop, so must our understanding find the means to help our neighbor who falls into crime. And I love how those kind of mesh for me, because I believe the first noble truth is truly asking us to understand, to reflect. And Thought and Life refers to understanding as like the foundation we need to build. And I like that that coincides with the first noble truth because they build upon each other from there. To make ourselves humble in order to help without diminishing our own heights is to ensure the improvement of all and thereby enhance our own progress. And that's beautiful because that's what our potential is to learn that we're on our path, but our path isn't all about us. It's all about us in the sense that we need to change, but it's not all about us because we have to share that change when we achieve to help others gain the same, to help them on their path to their potential. The Gospel according to Spiritism, you cannot serve both God and mammon, section 8. The source of the evil resides in selfishness and pride. Abuses of every kind will cease by themselves when humankind rules itself according to the law of charity. When people begin to understand that that's how we get there, that it's not about us, because the us leads to I, as an individual entity. And that's not where we need to be. Just we got to make those distinguished between the two. And we got to start separating the truth from what we're coming up like from our selfish point of views, if you will. So the second noble truth, attachment to desire. It is not about identifying with desire in any way. It's about recognizing desire. We reflect as we see the nature of desire, but really seeing that these are conditioned into the mind. And that's an important aspect here to understand. Desire has power over us and deludes us only as long as we grasp it, believe in it, and react to it. And those are important concepts to understand. And I really like how this one will tie in to habit, as Emmanuel talks about habit. If we contemplate desires and listen to them, we are actually no longer attaching to them. We're just allowing them to be the way they are. And with the understanding that we start to develop that we just talked about, we see, we can take it as things are a means of teaching us, or it's just things that personally we experience and they have no meaning to them. But I like habit is the accumulation of mental reflexes whose function it is to induce routine. We inherit thousands of years of repeated experiences through all of our reincarnations, each one similar to the other. Up to now, we have been like a boat carried away by a river of habits to which we have offered no resistance. Therefore, with few exceptions, we have become consumer of other people's thoughts by an automatic reflex action of the mind. Consequently, we exaggerate our needs and refuse to adopt simpler standards of living which could make our lives easier. That's our ego coming in there, right? Saying that I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. The attachment to the I. We got to go beyond those. We then become defensive regarding our demand and cruel towards our neighbor. And when we hurt that person, we hurt ourselves. And that's interesting to me, that sentence, because we realize from Jesus' teaching on the greatest commandment, it's, love your neighbor as yourself. If we start to understand this concept, that's allowing us to move towards our potential. If we're hurting others or hurting ourselves, we're, vice versa, hurting ourselves, hurting others, it's right there. We're tied together. We can't think of ourselves as separate entities, but we have to understand the bigger picture that we're all connected to everything. This also causes us to create a complex mechanism of caution and distrust that reaches beyond the need of self-preservation. We become passionately possessive, thus creating mental reflexes of egotism, pride, and fear, and a vain desire to elude divine laws. In most instances, we act like inattentive and unfaithful workers who neglect the valuable resources which allow us to serve with dignity. Instead, depressed and disquieted, we bring suffering upon ourselves. That's interesting. We're always doing things to ourselves, even though so many times throughout my life I blamed others for doing this, for doing things to me. It's really interesting. We always have free will on how we choose to respond. And that's a point we always need to remember. Understanding free will allows for desires, so they can teach us if we allow them to. and desires definitely can lead to our suffering. What's bad for us is at the same time bad for our neighbor. So the invitation here is to become aware of our desires. To reach our potential, we have to become aware of ourselves. And it's a continuing invitation throughout our lives to understand us. And I was thinking about desire for me, and they had in this article about, and I like this, and they related it to food. And I can relate to that because I'm trying to eat better, and it's a battle. I give it that, and I love what it teaches me. But there's the good diet, and there, good foods is what we should have. But when you think about desire, a decent way of understanding it is the bad food. Why do we want it? Because we know it's not the best for us, but we desire it more in a lot of cases than we do the good food. And they said that's a way to contemplate what desire is to ask yourself, when you know something isn't good for you, and in this aspect, food, why are you taking the next bite? And it's an interesting question. And I would say both of these Thought and Life and the Noble Truth really complement one another. And it's an interesting read on these, if you get the time. But I really was appreciative of that. Become aware of our desires, because our desires, in the same way, are our habits. And we definitely need to understand our habits and how they serve us, or if they serve us anymore, which will kind of lead us into the next one here. The third noble truth: there is the cessation of suffering. The whole aim of the Buddhist teaching is to develop the reflective mind in order to let go of delusions. We reflect as we recognize that attachment to desire is suffering. The mental state is very important. It is the way out of suffering. And it so is the way out of suffering. It's the only way. It's not like, to me, it's not the way. It's the only way is to go in the mental. And that's what the whole book, Thought and Life, is about, is understanding, accepting, being aware of our thoughts, what we're doing, because that's setting the stage for us moving forward. Where we are mentally is where we're going. It takes a willingness to actually look at your reactions to be able to see the attachments. And that's something that we have to think about, strengthening our free will so we can better focus our efforts to change. It requires a lot of work to have willingness to look at yourself. And I know it has presented a great challenge for me throughout my life. We don't want to do that at times. It becomes something that it's easier to blame others. And that's why I probably looked out beyond myself so often, because I didn't want to look at the possibility that I could be the problem. I didn't want to think that way. I wanted to think of it that others should be. So chapter 20, Habit, Thought, and Life, the Spirit Emmanuel tells us evolution demands that we develop new habits, that we detach ourselves from lower forms and walk towards higher stages of existence. And that is going to be the way we get rid of suffering, is why when we examine our habits and to understand at one time that's where we were, but that isn't necessarily what we want to bring forward with us, that we have to evaluate by going within to see if these habits still work for us, and to understand that evolution is something we see all around us. From ourselves, from being born as a child, we evolve as in our physical form. Plants and animals evolve, nature evolves, everything is continually changing. But we are giving the blessing of understanding that we can look at those habits and see if they are the best for us in order to reach our potential. Even now, justice in the world spells revenge, and love is tainted with selfishness. This is due to our unreasonable attitudes during all the millennia that preceded today. However, we cannot ignore the fact that true happiness, as it is then that we nurture real goodness. We have the obligation to educate ourselves and to serve. And I think this is what Paul understood. It's not simply a choice or something you do for yourself. When you look at reaching your potential, when you look at everything you've been given, when you look at all the blessings and the teachings and all the efforts that go into your incarnation for the benefit of you, you start to gain the sense of the obligation that is there. creating these everyday habits by cooperating in the safety and happiness of all beings, even at the cost of your own sacrifice. And I would add to that that at some point, hopefully, we understand that it isn't a sacrifice, but a choice and an honor to be able to help all. So, the gospel according to Spiritism, love one's neighbor as oneself, section 11. Thus, selfishness is a target at which all true believers must aim their weapons, their strength, and their courage. I say their courage because more courage is needed to overcome oneself than to overcome other people. I love that because as I've learned going through, it is courage. It really is. It takes a lot of strength to look at yourself. It takes a lot of desire to want to become better. It requires us to be humble, not to take things personally, but to do it in order for the right reasons, to be charitable, and to understand that you have the ability through your charity to connect yourself with God, because God has been charitable to us the entire time. And then the fourth noble truth, there is the eightfold path, the way out of suffering. And the eightfold path is wisdom, right understanding, right aspiration, morality, right speech, right action, right livelihood, concentration, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. All we can do in this conventional form is let go of delusion. And I think this really tied nicely to duty, chapter 21. The Spirit of Emmanuel tells us duty is divine by submissions to certain principles established by divine wisdom as laws for our self-improvement. And I think that's what that's saying, the fourth noble truth there. You have this, you do. You have a duty to do it. Otherwise, you're not going to make your way out of suffering. So it is a choice. But when we look at it in the sense, and I love what Emmanuel tells us, it is a duty because we have an obligation, as Paul understood, to go beyond himself, to give back to others. As like I referred to as God is given to us, Jesus came down and went through everything he went through to give to us. Gandhi went through a struggling life to give. Mother Teresa went through her own struggles to give. We have a duty to do that as well for others, that we can't just be takers of life, that we have to give back to it as well. Without discipline, there can be no security. In the subatomic world, particles obey natural law. Likewise, constellations follow in unison with their celestial glory. People travel long distances through the air from their homes, yet they would not be able to do so without obedience to the laws that govern the movement of the aeroplane carrying them. We may then symbolically describe duty as a series of activities in the arena of goodness that the Supreme Lord gives us the responsibility to execute. This is done to uphold order and the advancement of his divine work and for our own self-development. A lot goes in for ours, right? We're talking about what God has done for us, for our benefit. And we need to see that example and be willing to do it for others. And the series of, duty of a series of activities in the arena of goodness, I feel like that really ties nicely with the fourth noble truth, because that's what that's trying to tell us. That if you want a way out of suffering, just like Emmanuel is referring to, you have to bring these attributes in. You have to make these efforts. You have to go beyond yourself. You have to see it as more of just something you do, but as a duty, because that relays the importance to it. And to me, that's the only way we are going to really make that effort to achieve our potential. But that is my presentation. And I hope it made sense as always as I present these. And I'm very grateful for the opportunity to present. And I hope in some ways maybe it'll inspire you to look into the Four Noble Truths a little, because I believe there's a lot of wisdom there. And to also appreciate what we have every day with us through Spiritism and how beautiful the teachings truly are. So with that, I'll open it up and I would love to hear some comments, and thank you.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, Robbie. I am still digesting all this wonderful information. But what I love the most is how you're able to make an analogy by bringing the four noble truth with what we study, with the gospel, with the Chico Xavier, right? And all the doctrine that we study with Allan Kardec. So you have a very strong foundation. I love seeing you developing and becoming this wonderful teacher. Thank you for being so clear and connecting the points. And to me, of course, all the Four Noble Truths are amazing. And the one that resonated with me at first was the first one, talking about the suffering. I love it. I love this, what I will adopt as a mantra, because there is suffering, period, versus I suffer, because then I'm just so self centered, which is a human being tendency to look, to look and feel what you're feeling. But you are right. When you look at the big picture and see that there is suffering and we are all connected, when I suffer, you suffer, everybody else does as well, collectively. Being able to analyze, it takes the focus on me, right? To expand my understanding as to what's going on in the world. Because you're right, as we look for answers outside of us, we are not going in. And when we go in and we do all the healing, the inner transformation work, we can be better people too, which will reflect to others, right? Which will hopefully decrease the suffering that we are contributing with our energy and complaints, etc., collectively. So I love that you are able to connect all the points. This takes a lot of work and understanding. You have such a strong foundation of and what you've just shared with us. And I also remember when we were studying the book uh, together, we had all the studies. We hosted at Tanya's house, in fact, and that book was just so amazing and brought so much knowledge that you were able to reflect against the four noble truths. So thank you for bringing to light that um, important learning and information that we can apply in our daily life. So for me, it was very informative, very illustrative, and you made an amazing analogy by connecting all the points. So thank you for that. I'm still digesting all this information and the way out of suffering. So that was big for me. Very enlightening. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you. We have a lot of wisdom out there for our benefit.
Yeah.
We're blessed.
Yeah. Anybody else has a word about this amazing presentation?
Robbie, I just want to thank you for the depth and breadth of what you just presented. Um, it's like we could do an entire multi-week study on this, and maybe should. But I'll tell you what's best about it that just dawned on me as Adriana was speaking. We have this being captured on YouTube, so I can go back and look at these slides again. And that's huge because there's so much depth of what you presented. So thank you.
Thank you.
And that was I was thinking about that, Mark. I said, thank God, thank Kiki, we have the YouTube, so we can go back. And it is amazing teaching of today and amazing reminding to ourselves as a one planetary family together that if you hurt ourselves, we hurt everybody else. If we are doing good, we are doing good for everybody too, not just for ourselves. We are doing good for everybody. So more that we are aware of the truth, and we will be align ourselves to the great creator, and we'll be manifesting his great will and righteousnesses here on the earth by the time we can walk together with each other. Amazing teaching, amazing reminding, and thank to everybody. uh, Thank you, Kiki, for having us to on YouTube so we can go back. And I agree with Mark. That is a very good topic of studying too. Thank you so much for your time and putting out everything together. I learned a lot today too.
Yay, good. Thank you.
Robbie, thank you, friend. I also wanted to not only thank you, but also as you were speaking, I think that two things prompted to me. So one is, what is the version of ourselves that we want to live? Because as we unlock our potential, we enable better versions of ourselves to live and to really either leave a legacy or for us to build something. So I think it was really beautiful the way that you inspired me to what version of myself do I want to live in this lifetime? And as you were saying, like, which are the habits that I am constantly invited to change or to transform that I still struggle, therefore cause suffering. So it was like I'm also digesting everything that you said. I really want to spend the day and the week reflecting. So this was one point. And then the other point is it also brought to me it also called the attention to how important discipline is. We know that Emmanuel said to Chico Xavier, when Chico Xavier asked what did he have to do for him to really do the good, he said, discipline, discipline, and discipline. And I was thinking, I was like, oh my gosh, there are so many books teaching us to discipline ourselves, to have self-discipline. But really, this is an individual journey. Like we have to understand which are our struggles and how to remove them. And then like really bring the will and then the thought together and all the four laws that you brought, how do they all together help us? And we sometimes just neglect, right? Because we just pass by our life because we are working, because we are handling so many things that we really do not pay attention. Therefore, we don't unlock our potential. So really, it was super inspirational. Thank you very much. And you just reminded me of a statement that I once read, that it was the pain. I wrote it some. Oh yeah. So the pain of self-discipline will never be greater than the pain of the regret. And I think that that was so strong, and it just connected so much with what you brought. So thank you for inspiring me. Yeah, I really have
Kiki,
to.
can you repeat that sentence? The pain?
Yeah, and I wrote down. So the pain of self-discipline will never be greater than the pain of the regret.
Wow, that's very deep too.
That is deep. Yeah.
Mm,
Thank
thank
you,
you.
friend. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you for your comments. I love that. Presenting the best version of ourselves. I love that.
Robbie, this was a really good presentation. A huge amount of information. It reminds me of motorsports or any competitive sports, the pit stop. You get us going for another 186-hour week to get out there and get after it with a whole new outlook and a good war chest of skills and keep our health, keep our bodies in working order, and expression of appreciation and gratitude and discipline. Wow. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I love that analogy. That's awesome.
Dave, you can't see because you're using your phone, but in the computer, we can all give some reaction. So everybody was just giving you hearts in appreciation of what you said, friend.
Well, it's an honor. It's an honor. Thank you very much.
Anybody else, my friends? Anyone would like to comment? Share your thoughts? I know it's a lot to digest. That's good. You're right, Dave. We have food for thought for the whole week and more. I don't think I see any more comments. I see that Nora shared her appreciation here on the chat. And my friends, if you have no more comments, we are going to go ahead and proceed, which means that we are going to be taking a break to get your water, to process, digest a little bit more what we just learned. What a beautiful presentation, so in depth. And we shall come back. Since we are in good time, Kiki, I would like to extend 5 minutes. So everybody get ready for water, as well as the name of the people that we're going to be working with in the next Healings On session. So my friends, we'll see you in